A key character dies towards the end of Cobra Kai Season 2's Part 2, raising questions surrounding its thematic meaning and long-term impact on the show's overarching storyline. Like its predecessors, Cobra Kai Season 2 Part 2 features a mix of tragic and uplifting moments. While some students from the Central Miyagi-Do Dojo perform incredibly well at the Sekai Taikai, others struggle to keep up with the stiff competition at the tournament. Owing to the underwhelming performances of some team members, both Cobra Kai and Miyagi-Do Dojo struggle to find their place among the Sekai Taikai tournament's top contenders. However, through sheer hard work and determination, the two teams eventually rise in the ranks and begin to find their footing. However, just when it looks like Cobra Kai Season 2 Part 2 will end on an optimistic note for both teams, a brutal brawl breaks loose at the tournament's venue and leads to the death of one major character. Kwon Jae-sung dies during the Sekai Taikai brawl. His accidental death ends Cobra Kai Season 2 Part 2 on a tragic note. Kwon, Brandon H. Lee, looking very determined in Cobra Kai Season 6 image via Netflix. During the Sekai Taikai brawl in Cobra Kai Season 6 Part 2's ending moments, Kwon Jae-sung sets out to duke it out with Axel Kovacevic, who seems to be the #1 contender at the tournament. However, since Axel is an extremely skilled fighter, he manages to defend himself from Kwon and even overpowers him every time Kwon tries to harm him. With each loss against the superior fighter, Kwon grows increasingly frustrated. When Axel shoves him down towards the end of the episode, Kwon finds a knife on the ground. Blinded by his anger, Kwon attempts to use the knife to harm Axel. To defend himself, Axel attacks Kwon when he charges toward him with his knife. To everyone's shock, Kwon falls on the knife and tragically impales himself. The arena, where everyone was busy fighting, suddenly falls silent as all the fighters watch Kwon die. Moments later, the tournament's organizers arrive at the scene and ask the cameraman to cut the feed. This ends the second installment of Cobra Kai Season 6 on a grim note. The knife Kwon uses ties into Kreese and Terry Silver's story. John Kreese was going to use that knife to kill Silver. In Cobra Kai Season 6 Episode 10, John Kreese recalls how Master Kim asked him to ensure that nothing ever gets in his way. While recounting Master Kim's words, Kreese sets out to kill Terry Silver with his knife to get him out of his way. However, moments before he does it, an announcer asks all Sekai Taikai teams to gather in the main lobby. After the Russian team triggers the final brawl and chaos ensues in the arena, Kreese sees it as an opportunity to kill Silver. However, while making his way to Silver, Kreese accidentally drops his knife moments later. Kwon finds Kreese's knife on the ground and tries to use it to harm Axel, which ultimately leads to his death. Owing to this, it is hard not to blame Kreese for Kwon's demise. His hunger for revenge and inability to find peace set a tragic chain of events into motion. Although Kwon, too, was driven by his own frustration and anger, he would have been alive if Kreese had not been so consumed by his bitterness. Kwon also could have avoided his tragic fate if a better mentor guided him. Despite having violent tendencies from the beginning, Kwon might have become a more collected fighter if he had trained under Daniel LaRusso. However, Kreese brought out the worst in him and made him more susceptible to being blinded by his anger and making reckless decisions. As a result, Kwon almost emulated Kreese's action and tried to get Axel out of his way. Sadly, in his pursuit of vengeance, Kwon dug his own grave, foreshadowing what might happen to Kreese if he does not change. How Kwon's death ties into Mr. Miyagi's secret past. Mr. Miyagi also killed someone at the Sekai Taikai. Daniel LaRusso struggles to find new information on Mr. Miyagi's history in the Sekai Taikai tournament. However, Terry Silver surprises him by giving him a tournament bracket with Mr. Miyagi's name. The bracket reveals Mr. Miyagi's opponent died during his fight against him, which convinces Daniel that he knew nothing about his sensei. Daniel also cross-verifies the document with the tournament's organizers, who confirm it is authentic. They also reveal it was not uncommon for contestants to die in the tournament back when Mr. Miyagi competed. With what follows, Daniel is haunted by nightmares in which he is fighting against Mr. Miyagi, struggling to understand who he was before he met him. Although the tournament's organizers assure Daniel that the tournament is much safer for fighters in the present day, history repeats itself when Kwon passes away. What makes things even worse is that Kwon does not even die during a sanctioned bout. He accidentally impales himself during an unofficial showdown between all dojos at the Sekai Taikai tournament. How Kwon's death will impact Cobra Kai Season 6 Part 3 and the Sekai Taikai. Kwon's death will significantly change the direction of the show's overarching storyline. Brandon H. Lee as Kwon in Cobra Kai. As Cobra Kai's showrunners confirmed in an interview with Screen Rant, Kwon's surprising death will naturally have reverberations into the end game of the series. Realistically, his death should end the tournament for good. However, it seems unlikely that the tournament will cease in the show's final installment. Since Kreese knows he is partially responsible for Quan's death, he will either change himself after being haunted by guilt or grow even more infuriated and vengeful towards Terry Silver. Given how the Cobra Kai dojo is short of one fighter after Quan's demise, they might also have to find a replacement for him in the show's final installment. Till now, Axel seemed to be the best fighter in the tournament. However, he could be deeply disturbed by Quan's death in Cobra Kai Season 6 Part 3 and hold himself accountable for it. His guilt towards Quan's demise could hold him back from performing well, allowing Robbie and Miguel to rise in the ranks and become the tournament's best male fighters.